Can we all
Here. Give me one. No, you can say. I'm gonna grab the file so I can show you what we submitted. Okay.
Are you filling in for Mr. Lyle today also?
I am.
Oh, are you? So the DA said that the officer for position 1, which is Mr. Lyle, and position 2, Ms. Beck's client, isn't going, well, hasn't shown up today. He's asking for a reset.
This is what we said.
Okay, this is first reset.
Police report surveillance.
Yes.
Body cam, dash cam footage and access to your cell phone.
We wanted
So that's what we subpoenaed. It was to show you.
Did you want to bring him out, or are you just good? I mean, her telling her?
Yeah.
26, whatever it was.
Oh, so you just go back and tell her?
Longer than that because,
I mean, you tell me. I don't want to. Are you sure?
when did I meet?
All right, hold on. Do you have a date? Is it going to be yours, or is it going to be someone else's?
Whatever that says, okay, but this is.
Couple of weeks?
Um,
Okay. All right. So it's position 22 CP 210316 Lena Lewis. And also, and that's going to be Mr. Olaf, substituting in for Mr. Lyle. And then 22 CP 210316 Banlin Preston. That's Ms. Beck's client. Go ahead. What says the state?
Yes, Your Honor. The officers are the same for both positions. Officer Marcus Smith with the Atlanta Police Department, badge number 7735. Officer was properly subpoenaed and is not currently present in court. We're asking for a reset to a later date so that we can subpoena the officer again.
All right. Mr. Olaf, you have no objection to the reset? Okay.
We would consent to a one-time reset, but it has been almost a year at this point, so we would be requesting no further resets.
Right, I got 334 days, so one final and only reset for the officer to appear. Do y'all want a morning? Morning,
Dealer's choice.
all right, whichever, so, what time?
Why do you? Why are you this stressed about the morning?
June.
13.
Y'all wanna look, make sure?
I'm sorry, can we do the week after? Is that an option? I'm out that week, so I just want to make sure that I'm the one doing this one. I'm not trying to hold you in longer.
Right.
I forgot the.
Are you on leave that week?
Yes. Your Honor.
Okay, she's on leave. So let's see.
You're indicted,
On this case?
not this one.
Which one?
Agent battery.
Yeah, hold on, let's see. Oh, she gave you 13. Wait a minute. Let's see.
Yeah. Oh, it'd been 3 years.
So it looks like, yeah, that's the one that Ms. Watts gave her, but the next week is the 20th and 22nd.
Any of that works.
Hold
Your
on a
Honor.
second. Does he have a, so you want one that week? So how about we just send you guys the new date for the next week?
That would be perfect. Thank you so
Are
much.
you on leave, Mr. Olaf?
I'll be on through in July, so that's all right.
No, so it'd be the next week, which Juneteenth is the 19th. So it'd be like the 20th or 22nd, one of those days. Is that fine?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get the date and shoot it to you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good morning, Judge Manning. May I have the officer's name one more time, please?
Marcus Smith, SMITH.
What are you talking?
Thank
Okay,
And Your Honor, we didn't come up with the dates as of yet. correct?
right. It's probably gonna be, it's either gonna be the 20th or the 22nd, but Ms. Watts isn't here. She only gave the reset dates for the 13th and the 15th.
I'll let you-
So we'll reach out to her, or she'll be back tomorrow. So it'll either be the 20th or the 22nd.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll get her to email you. So what do you say now, LT?
We're gonna break out 3 and 9 through 14.
Okay.
Just wait one second, I'm gonna grab a business card.
Now, do we have everybody here, 9 through 14? Hold on, let's see. Do we have all the lawyers here for these? I don't see. That's you. Right, okay, so 13 looks like, well, where's Correll? He's at Department of Corrections. Let's see.
Here you go.
That concludes my business. May I be excused, Your Honor?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Because I think there were a couple lawyers. Hey, so I got you this morning and one of your clients, he's already at DOC, but he's on my prelim. Chase Spencer. You think this may be, right, it says he's at DOC. No, huh? Okay. All right, bye. Well, LT, it looks like we're a couple of lawyers short though, before we bring all
Okay.
these folks out, I guess. Then we got Mr. Olaf. Yeah, we only got two lawyers, three. We only got three lawyers, right?
Yes, I mean, I don't see everybody here.
All right, so your client is which one?
Balin Preston, number 12, position 12, and Galen Collins, position 5. Well, Collins is in another courtroom right now. You'll get it just a minute.
And Mr. Olaf, yours is, so where in the world is everybody? Where's all the lawyers?
I don't know.
I mean, that was kind of rhetorical. I didn't want you to have the answer, Mr. Olaf.
Yeah, position.
Yeah, and somebody else too.
Find somebody else.
Three
Let me double check.
and position 9. Right, he's assigned. We didn't agree to sign it in the area. Anyway,
And you're covering that?
no, it's kind of a copy, that's why.
Oh, that's true.
Shooting for 5 and 12.
But there's twice.
So what's going on?
And you're covering position 5 and 12, right?
Yes,
Well, I guess we can bring out,
Or 12.
and they're involved in the same one.
well, 5 is.
No, 5's not, so it's just 12.
Yes, 12 is with the 9 is.
12 and 7.
But 5, Mr. Collins is in another courtroom, so that's.
Yeah. All right, well, till then, how about we bring out, do we have the officer here for 5?
Yes, Your Honor. But yes,
Collins isn't here, right?
He's here, but he's in another courtroom.
Okay. So, Mr. Olaf, what's another one of yours?
I've got number 8.
We might as well bring out what, 8 and,
Your Honor, 8 is the one that's already bonded out.
huh?
8 is already,
Oh, yeah, 8's bonded out. Yeah. All right. What do you guys want to do? Because obviously we have no lawyers here.
It's up to you. I mean, we're ready to go forward on the ones who have attorneys. I guess the rest.
Because you don't have one of them that's involved in the alleged riot, do you? No.
I have one that is involved in right. If you're speaking to me, Judge, Mr. Van, who is here, he's number 12.
I think are there two rights?
Yes.
Okay, I'll look back on that. Shipman, Ms. Rondon. Division 10.
Okay, so you got Shipman, right? I guess we could bring out Shipman and yours and Vanlin. Let's just do that. Shipman and Vanlin. We'll do two.
And Vanlin.
Shipman and Vanlin. Shipman and Vanlin. And Mr. Lewis said he didn't even know who the client was.
Shipment is come. Shipment, Vanlin is. Vanlin is 12.
I'm Van. So maybe right here then, I guess, if I sit next to my client. Is that okay?
Okay. All right, which, is it just one officer or two?
One.
There's one? All right. Right, last.
Ms. Ryan, I say I'll be here for you, your place today. Okay.
All right, Madam Court Reporter, we've got position 10. 23 CP 216632, 188 days without indictment, not necessarily on this charge. Julian Shipman, riot, simple assault, and unlawful for a jail inmate to possess any controlled substance, drugs, gun, or dangerous weapon. And we also have, and that's going to be handled by Mr. Olaf today for Ms. Rondon. Other one, then we have Preston Vanlin, position 12, 23 CP 216632, 334 days without indictment, but not on this charge. Riot, possession of a dangerous weapon or drugs by an inmate, and simple assault. Officer, or deputy, if you raise your right hand, sergeant, excuse me, you swear affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. All right, state your name, spell it for the court reporter, please.
Sergeant James Battle, JAMES.
Excuse me, Your Honor, I
Can
can't,
you pull that microphone down?
my phone is not, yeah.
Can you tap on it? All right, you got to speak up just a little bit.
Sergeant James Battle.
Can you hear him? Okay, go ahead, sorry.
JAMES, last name BATTLE.
I can barely hear you. I don't know. Sorry.
Try to talk up.
There you go.
All right.
All right, go ahead.
All right.
James, JAMES, Battle, BATTLE.
Gotcha.
All
All
right.
right,
I'm Assistant District Attorney Sue Chan, SAUCHAN. All right. Sergeant Battle, where do you work, sir?
The Fulton County Jail.
And what is your position there?
Currently employed with the Jail Investigations Unit.
sorry, Ms. Chan, can you hold a second? Hey, Mr. Lewis.
Yes, Judge.
So are you familiar with that client? Because we can bring him out. He's a DOC.
Yes, I am now familiar with him, Judge, and I'm on my way to you.
Okay, we're starting. How far are you?
Very far. So are you starting with his prelim right now?
Yeah, because they're all co-defendants. Yeah, because he's not here. He's in DOC.
I need to talk with him, Judge.
Well, he's at Department of Corrections.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Right.
Is there a way that I can communicate with them in a chat room?
He's at Department of Corrections. He's not even here.
But he's on Zoom at the DOC, correct?
Nope, they don't have him on Zoom.
Oh, okay. So they can't bring him out then?
Right, that's why I said, did you want to waive his presence?
I can't do that, Judge.
Okay, so you want to reset yours?
Yes, please.
Okay, we'll get you a date, Mr. Lewis. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. Have a good one.
You as well.
All right, go ahead. Sorry, Ms. Chan.
So you said you were with the jail investigation unit?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how long have you been with the jail investigation unit?
Since September.
Since September?
Yes.
How did, and was there an employee by name of Gloria Franklin who worked for the jail at some point in the early part of this year?
Yes.
Okay. And did something she do bring, did something she do back on February the 7th, that her action bring that action to your attention?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell the court what happened that got something that she did that brought it to your attention?
So on February the 7th, well, actually February the 8th, I was notified about a assault on an inmate that had taken place the previous night, like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
They wanted me to investigate it. So I started my investigation by first looking at the video surveillance throughout the jail. During that review, I determined that an inmate, Mr. Green, had been assaulted several times during that night. The actions of Officer Franklin actually contributed to the assault, whereas she let inmates from one housing pod enter the second housing pod to assault Mr. Green.
Okay, and when you say Mr. Green, is that Quayshawn Green? Is it spelled QWAYSHAWN and standard spelling GREEN last name?
That's correct.
Okay. And what you saw in that surveillance video, did it involve a pod 300?
Yes, it did.
And was that the pod that inmate Quayshawn Green was housed in?
Yes, it was.
And was there an adjoining pod right next door? Was that pod 200?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And can you walk us through what you saw particularly in that surveillance video of, actually, let me walk you back a bit. Quayshawn Green, before, was the door opened in pod 200?
No, it was not.
Okay. All right. And what about pod 300? Before Quayshawn Green was attacked, what happened? Do you recall there was some sort of whether there was an altercation near the shower area?
Yeah, so there were 3 or 4 inmates standing close to the shower area. It appeared that they had gotten into some type of verbal disagreement, which then led to all the inmates retreating to the rear of the housing pod. All inmates except for Mr. Spencer, who then went out of zone 300 and went over to zone 200. And motion for inmate, the next thing you see is Mr. Frank Hubert running from the top tier of the jail down the steps to the door. He was then joined by several other inmates that came up behind him. During that time, Mr. Herbert is seen on the video actually obtaining what's known as a shank. It's a homemade knife that they currently make inside the jail. Mr. Herbert then makes motions with his hands for the other inmates to back away from the door. Once he did that, he went over to the call box. He made a call up to then detention officer Franklin, who was sitting in the tower, to open zone 300. Once she opens on 200, correction. Once he opens on 200, Mr. Herbert and a couple of the inmates ran into the zone 300. Now, Mr. Quayshawn Green at this time was in the rear, still in the rear of the pod area. As Mr. Herbert ran towards the rear, that's when Mr. Preston stabbed Mr. Green. Mr. Green then, after being stabbed, ran towards the front of the housing pod. Once he got up to the housing pod, Mr. Shipman, Mr. Spencer, Mr. Carter, Mr. Fields, all basically attacked Mr. Green by throwing fists, kicking him several times. Then Mr. Herbert joined in at that particular point and continued to kick him in the face and hit him with his hands, also hitting him with several food trays that were in the pod as well.
And when you say that inmate Preston stabbed him, did you see any injuries on Mr. Green as a result of that stabbing?
Yeah, I actually conducted an interview on Mr. Green on the 27th of February, and he did have stab wounds that had since healed on his body. that he acknowledged were from that assault.
Okay. All right. And as for inmate Jaquan Fields, was he among the inmates that were housed in 200 where Frank Hubbard was housed?
I think he was in 200.
Okay. And was he among the inmates who followed Frank Hubbard when he exited his pod in 200 to go into 300?
That I can't recall right now, but I know he did participate in the assault at the front of zone 300, and they were kicking and hitting him. Specifically, I think Mr. Fields was the first to actually punch Mr. Green.
Okay. And did the inmate Quayshawn Green, did he fall to the ground from that initial punch by Jaquan Fields?
Yes, he did fall to the ground. He was continuously assaulted. And after that, some type of way, he was actually able to leave out of zone 300. And you can then pick him up on the camera by the 903 door, which is the main door coming into the housing pod area. That's when he's assaulted again by Mr. Spencer and Mr. Herbert, who are hitting him with closed fists and kicking him, but they're also armed with homemade shanks.
Okay. And what about inmate Shipman? When did he participate in the attack?
He participated in the initial attack that happened right there at the front of the pod area. He was in on punching and kicking Mr. Green.
Punching when Frank Herbert and Jermaine Carter were there?
Yes.
Doing the simultaneous. Okay. All right. And this is all this occurred at Fulton County Jail?
Yes,
Okay. And is that located in Fulton County?
it is.
Okay. All right. Okay. And do you recall whether there was any sort of weapons anybody else had held besides what you indicated, Van Lin Preston and Frank Hubbard?
Mr. Spencer, I know he had a weapon. Mr. Carter had a weapon at some point. Mr. Shipman had a weapon at some point.
Okay.
Yeah, so they all actually handled a weapon during the assault.
And when you
Not
say a
necessarily
weapon,
using it.
what can you remind us what kind of weapon we're talking
Yeah, it was a
about?
homemade knife, which we refer to as a shank, which is just a normal piece of building metal, usually sharpened to cause injury.
All right. And Mr. Green, was he trying to get away from these inmates
Yes, he was.
at some point? So can you tell whether or not he ran at some point, was he able to run outside of zone 300, try to get away?
Yes, so he was stabbed the first time. He ran to the front of the zone. He was attacked at the front of the zone. Then he was able to go out of the 300 door after that second attack, which he was attacked the third time by Mr. Spencer and Mr. Herbert on the outside of the housing area.
Okay. And at some point, did he also try to run back inside that same zone 300 to get away from the same inmates?
Yeah, he was trying to go in and out, whatever he could do to get away from the attacks.
Okay. And did they attack him again when he ran back inside?
Yeah, he was attacked again when he ran back inside. And after that attack, that's when you see him on the stairs. He actually falls out. And that's when detention officer Franklin and they walk in the Sally Port and witnessed.
Okay. And just to be clear, are inmates allowed to have weapons such as shanks in the facility?
No, ma'am, they're not.
Okay. And are inmates allowed to, punch, kick, or wield weapons against other inmates? in the
No, they are
facility?
not.
Okay. All right. Okay, pass the witness.
All right, Cross.
You wanna go or it's up to you.
Oh, God.
Okay.
So Sergeant Battle, how are you?
Fine, and you, ma'am?
I'm just fine. I'm Michelle Clark, representing Mr. David Preston. When did you begin your investigation?
On the February 8th,
Okay, and so the incident occurred on
February 7th.
February 7th. And what did you do to begin your investigation? What was your first step?
The first step was to review the surveillance cameras.
Review the video cam?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many video cams did you review?
It's quite a few cameras. I think each zone probably has about 4 to 5 different cameras.
Okay. And what else did you do? Did you talk with Miss Frank? Is it Officer Franklin?
I talked to her after her arrest.
So she was arrested?
Yes, ma'am.
Why was Officer Franklin arrested?
For not providing aid to Mr. Green during the attack.
Was she arrested for any other reason?
Oh, yeah, she had several charges.
Okay. Was it also for opening the zone up when requested by inmate?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did
Quite a,
inmate Herbert ask her to open the zone?
yes.
And so she opened the zone to let in the inmate Green, is that correct? When she opened the zone, did she let in inmate Green?
No, inmate Green was already in zone 300. When she opened the zone, she let Frank Herbert out. of
To go
zone
to
200 to go to 300 to commit.
Okay, to go to 300. And were you able to determine whether or not inmate Green himself had a shank or a weapon?
No, I could not see that from the video.
Okay, was he defending himself?
When the first attack, he was standing against a wall
Mhm.
and he was having a conversation. And that's when
Okay.
Mr. Preston walked up and stabbed him.
Okay, so Mr. Preston walks up to him and stabs him when he's having a conversation. You don't see inmate Green make any motion towards my client, Mr. Preston.
No, I did not.
Okay. And so when Franklin was arrested, when exactly was she arrested, by the way?
I have to look back to the notes. I don't have the exact.
Okay, so was inmate Green, did he sustain injuries requiring medical treatment?
Yes, he had stab wounds and he did receive medical treatment.
Was that 20 days later?
Approximately, yeah.
Okay, so when you saw the injuries on inmate Green, you saw injuries that were at least 20 days old possibly. Is that true?
Yes.
So you can't, and did you look at the camera showing where inmate Green had been for the past 20 days? If there had been any other incidents?
No, I had not.
So is it possible that some of those injuries could have occurred through another incident that inmate Green may have had?
Objection and calls for speculation.
I'll rephrase it, Judge.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so you don't know for certain whether or not those injuries occurred from my client, Mr. Preston, do you?
No, but I know he did sustain injuries during the attack seen by your client on the video.
Okay, and how long when your officer Franklin opened the door that shouldn't have been open to allow inmates to mingle, isn't that what occurred? They began attacking each other. How long did that go on?
It was several minutes.
Okay, and during this whole incident, you didn't see inmate Green make any aggressive move toward my client. Is that
No.
true?
That's true.
Did you interview my client?
No,
Who did you interview?
I interviewed Mr. Green.
Just Mr. Green
Yeah, and also Franklin.
and Officer Franklin? So no interviews with any of the other inmates?
No.
Okay. After you reviewed the videotapes, 4 or 5 videotapes, spoke with inmate Green 20 days later, right? And then spoke with the officer.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't get a verbal response.
Yes.
Thank you.
After speaking with Mr. Green, Officer Franklin, and reviewing the video evidence, what other steps did you take to investigate?
After that point, I went ahead and put my case together, looked at the facts, came up with the warrants,
Okay.
and effected the arrest.
So you processed the warrants by looking at the videos and talking to 2 individuals.
Yes.
What was the total number of inmates in pod 200 at the time?
I couldn't tell you right off the top.
Do you have any estimate?
No, I don't.
How about in pod 300?
I wouldn't have that information.
Did you bring the video today for us to look at?
No, not today. I didn't.
Now, you said you've been an investigator since September.
Yes,
Would that be September 2022?
yes, ma'am.
Was this your first riot to investigate at that jail? The last riot, I should say.
I'm not sure if that was the first one or not. It's been several.
Why did it take 20 days to begin an investigation on this incident?
It didn't take 20 days to begin an investigation
But why did it take 20 days to speak with the victim?
because we had to go through all the video footage to make sure what we were seeing was correct and identify everybody that was involved.
Okay. And how many inmates did you all charge in the case?
I'm thinking maybe a 5 or 6.
Why didn't you speak with the inmates who you charged? Is there a reason why you didn't take a statement?
No,
Were you able to determine why Franklin opened the door when requested?
after interviewing her, she felt that I guess Frank Herbert was her coworker and would help her run the dorm.
Okay. Were you all able to obtain the alleged weapons that were used in this incident?
No, not that night. No,
Did you ever obtain them?
no.
Have you all do you all do a sweep through for weapons in the jail?
We do
Mhm.
daily. Weapons are found. I mean, I can't pinpoint just because I found a shank today to say that was the exact shank that was used in this incident.
And when you said my client used the shank, what did it look like? What was it made
A
of?
hardened piece of metal.
A hardened piece of metal?
Yes.
Okay, and how long was it?
I mean, it's hard to say how long it was looking at the video, but you can clearly see it in his hand.
What color was it?
It was a dark in color metal.
Okay, is it possible that it looked like something that it wasn't?
Possible. I mean, anything's possible.
Okay, but you never retrieved that
No.
shank, right?
No.
And none of the shanks were ever retrieved that you all.
From this incident, no, ma'am, because Officer Franklin, after the attack, closed the zone up and we didn't find out about the alleged attack until the next day.
Okay,
So she secured the crime scene and whatever evidence was probably lost in translation, between the floors.
All right, thank you, officer.
You're welcome.
Mr. Ola?
Good morning, Sergeant.
Good morning.
My name is Brian Olive. I represent Mr. Shipman here. Got a few questions. So you said there was 3 attacks altogether, sort of like 3 separate attacks?
Yeah, around that, yeah.
Okay. And so it was the first one right after the jailer opened the door and then let Mr. Hubbard in.
Mm-hmm,
And then right after that, there was the first attack.
mm-hmm,
And then Mr. Green ran into a group of people.
right.
That was the second attack?
Yes.
Okay, and then I guess he ran back and got attacked again.
No, he ran out and got attacked again. There was like 4 attacks.
All right, so at what point was my client, Mr. Shipman, involved?
The second attack.
Second attack, okay. And you said that he was punching and kicking him at that time?
Yes.
Did it look like, so he was attacking Mr. Green, the victim specifically?
Yes.
You saw him hit him, like
Yes.
punch him and kick him?
Yes.
Okay. Did it look like he was trying to break up the fight or anything to that effect?
No, sir.
All right, you mentioned earlier that you saw my client with a weapon.
Yes.
At what point did he receive that weapon?
Not sure right off the top of my head, but it was so much going on. You have to look at the video and you can see it.
How do you remember if he had a weapon if you don't remember exactly when it was? I mean,
Because I
At
looked
what
at
point?
I looked at the video when I was conducting my investigation. I could see him with the weapon.
okay. You remember him punching him and kicking him? I'm sorry, you remember my client punching and kicking the victim?
Yes.
Did he have a weapon at that point?
I don't think he actually had a weapon during the assault,
Okay.
but he did possess a weapon at some point during the.
And do you know what that weapon looked like at that point?
No, I can't recall.
Okay.
right now.
All right, no further questions, Judge.
All right, anything else?
I'm not putting any evidence up, just argument.
All right, anything else from the state?
Just very quickly, Sergeant Battle,
Ma'am.
when the inmate, Van Lin Preston, when you first saw the initial stab,
Yes,
did the video show Quayshawn Green grabbing the area where a strike had just occurred?
he did. He went up towards the right part of his body, turned away and ran to the front, which would be
Okay, and was
also
he-
to his right side.
Okay, and then before he was punched, was he still grabbing at that area?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Any follow-up?
Yes. Did you see blood?
At some point, yes, you can see blood on his uniform shirt because he was actually wearing a white, like thermal shirt.
Okay.
You can see the blood start to come through.
At the point where he's grabbing himself, where my client allegedly stabs him, do you see blood, sir?
I'll have to look back at the video. I can't recall if I saw blood actually at that point or because it's like I said, when he was running, it was blood coming everywhere. So
Okay. But you don't recall now?
not right now.
Okay.
Mr. Olaf, anything?
No, Judge, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
Nothing further from the state.
All right. Anything else for this witness?
Not from the state, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead with the argument.
Your Honor. Yes. Your Honor, so at this point, we are at the probable cause stage. So we start with Jermaine Carter, the aggravated assault. There's the testimony.
I'm sorry, Ms. Sarge, I guess if you want to hold up a second, because we'll figure out on those other cases.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Go ahead.
For Jermaine Carter, the aggravated assault, if you look at, I'm sorry, I have the wrong person. Julian, let me start with Van Lin Preston, Your Honor. So Van Lin Preston, you have the charges of, jump in here, riot, possession of dangerous weapon or drugs by inmate, and simple assault. One would even say that there's an aggravated assault based on the weaponry and the testimony from the sergeant of the grabbing at the wound shortly thereafter, and the blood that results as of the initial strike by the inmate Van Lin Preston. So I think that the state at this point has probable cause for aggravated assault. The riot, that particular code section, 161130, any two or more persons, you shall do an unlawful act of violence or any other act in a violent or tumultuous manner commit the offense of riot. This is in a jail facility. There, it was unlawful, as you hear from Sergeant Battle, to attack another inmate. There was a participation of two or more inmates, so we have probable cause for that. The possession of dangerous weapon or drugs by inmate, the possession of dangerous weapon being the shank that caused the stab wound that to which the inmate Quayshawn Green grabbed his shoulder, and as a result, the blood. And then the simple assault, of course, you can relate to the fact that back to the simple stabbing and the group punching and kicking. So we have probable cause for that. As for inmate Jaquan Fields, Your Honor, I think, let me go into that particular charge. Jaquan Fields. Again, we have probable cause. Any two or more persons who shall do an unlawful act of violence or any other act in a violent, tumultuous manner. You had testimony from Sergeant Battle that Jaquan Fields actually, I am really getting confused, sorry. It's just
We
Julian
got
Shipman.
Shipman
Sorry,
and-
Shipman, sorry. We go to Julian Shipman, who participated in the punching and kicking in the attack there. We have for the riot, and then that goes to the simple assault. And you have at the probable cause at this point that Julian Shipman was among the number of inmates who armed themselves with shanks. At this point, he says he sees it in the video. Now, it's not surprising that inmates are not going to have their shanks in their cells whenever, an officer, whenever the jail does a search, but it's enough that at this point that based on the witness that's borne by the surveillance video and what Sergeant Battle had seen, I think we have probable cause for the riot, the simple assault, and the unlawful possession of a dangerous weapon.
All right. Ms. Clark?
Your Honor, if I may. The officer or Sergeant Battles testified that, first of all, there was he wasn't certain. In fact, he said he couldn't be certain that he saw any blood at the time that my client allegedly stabbed Mr. Green. What we have is a situation where you have inmates housed in the pods. We have a person who's in charge of caring for those inmates, Officer Gloria Franklin, who opens doors, allows the inmates to run around, and everyone's trying to protect themselves. Of course, the best evidence would have been just to bring the video, and they don't have to, but that would have been the best evidence. The burden's on the state to show probable cause. There's no evidence, I don't believe, that's credible that my client committed an aggravated assault, an actual injury on Mr. Green. Again, he said he saw Mr. Green hold his shoulder, but he could not commit to seeing blood. If he had saw blood, he'd have testified to that. He didn't see any blood because it didn't happen. What happened was these inmates are housed in this facility. They have no control over what happens to them. We have an officer who's supposed to be law enforcement who opens doors, and these people are trying to protect themselves. My client was, I don't believe that my client committed an aggravated assault whatsoever. And of course, it's the state's responsibility to meet the burden. The investigation they did was to talk to the offending officer, Mr. Green, nobody else. They didn't gather any weapons. They did nothing. They even waited 20 days to view Mr. Green's body. And now they want to say my client caused these injuries. I'd say we should have seen the video. The burden's on them. I don't believe they met their burden. We ask that all the charges be dismissed. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. Realize that the threshold for probable cause is very low, so we'll submit to the riot and simple assault. But as far as unlawful for jail inmate to possess and control any substance, drugs, or guns or dangerous weapons, we don't believe that the sergeant met that burden one based on his testimony. It just seems a little vague. There's not any specific instance of when you can identify my client with that weapon. You can talk about when he's punching, kicking, and running, everybody running back and forth. So there's a lot of people a lot of confusion. But again, there was no, he said he saw it while he was looking at the video, but he couldn't pinpoint that. I believe that if there were a weapon, that he got my client mixed up with another at this point. Thank you, Your Honor. And we ask for you not to find probable cause in that charge. Thank you.
Ms. Chan?
Even if you look at the weapon, if you look at the fact that we're talking about, a concerted effort, even if you could not put a weapon specifically in that hand, this was a concerted effort by multiple inmates. At least one or more inmates had shanks. So you could look at it in terms of a concert of action, parties to a crime. They may not necessarily had to. I mean, if you don't find in Mr. Shipman's case, if you don't find the possession of weapon, you could also look at it in terms of aggravated assault. If you look at it in terms of a concert of action, aggravated assault is someone who puts in bodily fear of serious bodily injury. A group attack with hands, fists, trays, other objects, that's an aggravated assault right there in the concert of action type of methodology with multiple inmates.
Okay. All right, so you want to add aggravated assault to Mr. Preston, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you want?
And to Mr. Shipman for the concert attack among multiple inmates.
Okay. All right, so, and what about the simple assault?
We would ask that it just be upgraded from the simple assault to the aggravated assault, Your Honor.
Okay. On Mr. Vanlin Preston, I'll find probable cause on the riot, possession of dangerous weapon or drugs by an inmate, and the aggravated assault. And on Mr. Shipman, I'll find probable cause on riot and aggravated assault and possession of illegal controlled substance, drugs, gun, or dangerous weapon. Yeah, let's see. I don't think either of them have bond on this yet.
My client does it.
Your client does?
He does not.
He does not. So we'll go ahead and address bond. We'll start with Mr. Preston. Pre-trial.
Good morning, Judge. I'm sorry, which position are we starting with?
12, Vanlin Preston. Oh, wait a minute, let's see. Oh, no, he got one on the 22nd, but still, well, now that we added ag assault, so go ahead, yeah.
Okay, this defendant has 6 Georgia cycles beginning in 2017. Felony conviction for possession of firearm during the commission of a felony, possession of Schedule 4 controlled substance, and possession of cocaine. 1 probation violation. Nothing further to report, Your Honor.
Okay, yeah, because before he had 30,000 because he had 20 on the riot, 5 on dangerous weapon or drugs, and then 5 on the simple assault. So go ahead, Ms. Clark.
Your Honor, we'd ask that the bond stay at 30,000 under the circumstances of the evidence as presented by the state. My client is 31 years old. He does have a case that he's being held here, but you have set a fairly high bond on already, Judge. But if he's released, I have spoken with his mother, and he can reside with her at 1045 Peyton Road in Atlanta, Georgia. He's lived in Atlanta all of his life. He does have a GED. He has one child. He's worked for over 5 years before being arrested as an electrician, so he is skilled. He's a skilled laborer. He also spent a couple of months at Lincoln Technical College before his arrest. He'd like to get back to work. He needs to make money to support his child. So for that reason, and of course, the court can always put an ankle monitor, do some pretrial services for my client if he's released, but we'd ask for a bond that's not excessively high. And that would be between 20 and 30 for all the charges.
All right, Mr. Olaf.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. My client's 31 years old. He's born and raised in Atlanta. His entire family lives here. He has 3 children and 1 on the way. He has his GED. And prior to being arrested, he was working doing a clothing line. And he also volunteered at a Hateville Hornets Recreation Center, teaching coaching 8-year-old football. See, is the address, the 2637 Old Hateville Road, the apartment 16B. That's his mother's apartment where he can stay, should he receive bond. We just would ask for a reasonable bond in this matter, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Chan.
Judge, both defendants, Mr. Shipman and Mr. Preston, were already in jail on pretty serious charges when this particular event occurred, Judge. I know that they are entitled to bond after 90 days, Your Honor, but these are some serious charges. These are some very violent charges that took place in the jail. So, Your Honor, the state would ask that either, increase the bond, but do not decrease the bond, considering that we now have the additional charges of aggravated assault that occurred in the jail.
All right, let's see, on Vanlin Preston. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You're going to have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, and employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. No further contact for your co-defendants, Jermaine Carter, Julian Shipman, Jaquan Fields, Chase, Chaies, Spencer, and Frank Hubert. No further contact with Quayshawn Green, Sr., QWAYSHAWN Green, GREEN, Senior. We got 20,000 on the riot, 5,000 on the possession of dangerous weapon or drugs by an inmate, and 20,000 on ag assault. Now on Mr. Shipman, we'll have 20,000 on the riot, 5,000 on the possession of dangerous weapon or gun, drug, or any controlled substance, and 20 on the aggravated assault. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You can have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, also employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. No further contact with Vanlin Preston, Jermaine Carter, Jaquan Fields, Chase Spencer, Frank Hubert. And no further contact with Quayshawn Green Senior. What address is he gonna be living at?
2637 Old Hapeville Road, apartment 16B,
And is that in Hapeville or is that in Atlanta?
Hapeville.
Oh, okay. All right. Best of luck to you, both of you, sirs. Thank you. So in these other cases, since the lawyers, well, one, Mr. Lewis is gonna have time to speak with his client at DOC, or we'll have to get him here through DOC. Anybody know a date? Do you want to go out to the June 13th, or you want to go out that week of the 20th? What do you think? Because we're missing a whole bunch of lawyers.
Yes, sir. If we could try for the week of 20th, I would, because my concern is I have a very full week, that prior week of the 13th, Your
Yeah.
Honor.
Sarge, how's that look for you? The week of the 20th? All right, so we'll email you folks that week of the 20th. We don't know if it'll be that Tuesday or that Thursday.
If it even smacks game related at all.
Because yeah, if we don't have any more lawyers here, we're out of lawyers.
So 10 and 12 are done.
How bad?
Can I,
That'll be run out of them, yeah.
Mr. Collins is in here, I guess, yet. Dalen,
Let's see. Ask, is Mr. Collins back yet? Position 5?
All right, if I may be excused, Judge.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, hold on.
can I, maybe check on the other judges?
Yeah,
Starts
she's
at
checking to see
11.
if, yeah.
me to see.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah,
She
thank
said
you,
she's
Judge.
checking right now, so maybe
Oh,
she,
wait.
maybe she can grab him, but we got officers here on other cases. So, do we know who will be assigned to Miss Hemingway's cases, Mr. Olaf? Or is that with the C3? Hemingway? Or she had Jermaine Carter.
Carter, want to be a C3.
Be C3, okay.
Yeah, it says for all.
Oh, well, that one says Hemingway.
Anyway, it's with our.
So she's just not here today?
I'm not sure they included.
Okay, so we got Kayla Bumpus on another one.
Yeah, this, something, what's called, assigned to the other Carter. Yeah, there's, anyway.
You got Deontay Hampton.
I did.
Yeah, Dorothy Paula's on the other Jermaine Carter. And then,
I believe, okay, the other Carter.
then we got Mr. Bastine.
Yeah, she excused to go.
Yeah, she was checking.
I'm just gonna run it later.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We'll let you know what she says when she gets back.
Your Honor, officers, I guess, want to know if.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, where the lawyers are. Sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Which case were you here on? Do you know the name?
Yes, Collins.
Collins.
Carter.
Do you know which Carter? Which Carter case is he here for?
Position 3, 4, 5, Your Honor, is for,
All right, well, we have,
and then
we're waiting on them to get position 5 over from another court run. What about you?
I have Collins and. Position 6 and 7, Your Honor.
Well, but one's Miss Bumpus. And then there's Mr. Olaf, so stand by.
Thank you, Your Honor.
If she doesn't have Collins, maybe she's got Hampton. Still there. What about Hampton? Deontay Hampton. All right, yeah. All right, we'll bring Hampton out since we got Mr. Olaf. So I guess the other cases on the riot and stuff will be reset till that 20th or sometimes that week. We'll just reset that date. So your client's in 5F if you want to go.
Okay, Mr. Collins is in?
Right.
I'll go and try to get.
And who is that? That's,
I have to be in Just Scott at 11, I just know that.
no, I'm saying he's in 5F, which is Carnicel.
Yeah.
So he's gonna come right back, see if I can go get him.
All right, so we'll do this one. She'll go check on him. All right. All right, Mr. Olifigo, here we got Mr. Hampton. Hampton, right? Yeah, come on. There's Mr. Olaf right there. Oh, okay. Yeah, he may went to the little police officer's room. So Ms. Hollenbeck, she's gonna have to get the date. She's gonna have to check with Ms. Watts about the date on the 20th.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
so there's other cases, so I guess, yeah, we'll just have to stand by. I guess we'll just address it in just a sec. So right now we've got Deontay Hampton. It's position 7, 22 CP 214265, 222 days without indictment. Got ag assault, possession of firearm or knife during the commission of or attempt to commit certain felonies, misdemeanor obstruction and unauthorized possession of prohibited item by an inmate. All right, go ahead. Oh, wait a minute. Officer, if you raise your right hand, you swear affirm testimony about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right, if you state, spell your name for the court reporter, please.
Deputy Sheriff Rayshawn, Rayshon, Clark, Clark.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Honor. Thank you so much, Officer Clark, for being here today. Let's go over the events that occurred on November 27, 2022. What were you employed at that time?
I was employed at the Fulton County Sheriff's Office,
And in what capacity?
Deputy Sheriff assigned to the jail division,
And where are you currently employed?
Clay County Sheriff's Office,
And in what position?
a Deputy Sheriff assigned to the Traffic Enforcement Unit.
Thank you. As it pertains to the events that occurred on November 27, 2022, can you tell us what happened?
Yes, I was notified by jail supervision to investigate an inmate that was stabbed at the Fulton County Jail. While conducting my investigation,
Sorry, can you give us the address of Fulton
yes,
County Jail?
the Fulton County Jail is located at 901 Rice Street in Atlanta, Georgia, in Fulton County.
Thank you, Honor. Let the record reflect that the county has been established in this case.
All right, noted.
I was notified by Lieutenant Calloway to investigate an inmate that was stabbed at the Fulton County Jail. I then went to the seventh floor, 7th South, where I made contact with Detention Officer Tinsley, who advised me that he had found a shank or a jail-made knife on an inmate that was possibly used in an aggravated assault in the Fulton County Jail. I then made contact with Detention Officer Rollins on the 4th floor on the north side, who advised me that an inmate had threatened to stab another inmate and throw feces on her for not allowing him out to assist her with helping clean the jail or that particular area of the jail. He then took a mop bucket and poured water out, causing it to run into the horseshoe area in the 4th floor area. I came into contact with Mr. Hampton Mr. Hampton was the inmate that was stabbed by inmate Collins. And I went to the fourth floor to conduct an investigation with Mr. Hampton. When I went to talk to Mr. Hampton, he stepped outside of the zone door and immediately began to walk away from me very rapidly. As I called his name and told him to stop, he then continued to zone 700, which is the office area for the sergeant. He then took out a jailmate knife and began to repeatedly stab an inmate. I then holstered my Fulton County issue Fulton County issue taser and fired 2 cartridges into Mr. Hampton, in which it was not successful. Then Detention Officer Williams then unholstered his taser and fired, I believe it was 2 cartridges into Mr. Hampton as well, in which it was not successful, as he continued to repeatedly stab inmate Bell very viciously in my presence. And it was recorded on Fulton County issue Axon body camera and Fulton County jail camera in the housing area, as well as the horseshoe area. I then unholstered my old arrested capsicum or pepper spray or OC and used a 3-second burst. The 3-second burst was effective. I was then able to detain Mr. Hampton at that time.
And just to make sure, among the items that are generally distributed towards inmates, are knives also distributed?
Knives are not issued by the Fulton County Jail to inmates, and is also prohibited. The particular item that I speak of was, and if I can refer to my notes,
Please.
it was a long silver in color nail with a sharpened edge and blue cloth-like material wrapped around the edge.
Thank you.
And if I believe it was placed in Fulton County Sheriff's Office property and evidence.
Thank you. And do you see Mr. Hampton inside this courtroom today?
I think everybody can remove their mask.
I do.
And could you please identify an item of clothing and a facial feature of the person that you recognize?
He's wearing a blue shirt with a light white long sleeve shirt up under it, and he has facial hair.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that Officer Clark has clearly identified Mr. Hampton as a defendant sitting at the defense table in this case.
Noted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Nothing further.
Cross.
Good morning, officer.
Morning.
My name is Brian Olive. I represent Mr. Hampton here. So you mentioned that when you were first called, my client had been stabbed?
Yes.
Okay.
He was initially stabbed.
So he was stabbed. and
That was
then-
the initial reason for my investigation.
Okay. And so, and then you say he went and stabbed the victim afterwards?
So your client was stabbed. And then throughout the course of my investigation, I went and made contact with somebody else, with other officers. And as I came back to make contact with the victim, which is your client, I then tried to talk to him in the right outside the housing area in which he was housed in. He immediately came out and went past me and went immediately to zone 700 where he stabbed another inmate. This particular inmate was possibly involved in the earlier stabbing, but I'm unclear at this time. I have to refer to
The jail neglected to separate us. You allowed for me to get stabbed and neglected to
Mr. Hampton,
separate us.
please.
You put me in harm's way and
Hampton,
neglected to
I
save
wouldn't-
me.
Mr. Hampton,
That's
please.
what y'all did.
I wouldn't.
And I'm right by the same people that's trying to kill me again.
Mr. Hampton.
Separated again.
Mr. Hampton.
I advise you to exercise your right to remain silent. Sorry. So you're saying that the alleged victim that my client attacked could have been involved in the earlier stabbing where he was attacked?
So let me start over again so
Yeah.
that we're clear. Your client was stabbed.
Right.
While conducting my investigation, I went to speak with your client. where he then came out of his housing unit and went and proceeded to stab another inmate that was possibly involved in the stabbing that he got stabbed in earlier.
Right. Got it. And were both stabbings captured on camera at all, do you know?
Yes, this particular stabbing happened on my Fulton County issue Axon body camera, and it should be recorded on the jail cameras.
So-
Jail cameras were not reviewed by me because I'm not a supervisor.
Okay, all right.
I was not a supervisor at the time.
I see. So the earlier stabbing, you were unable to view?
I was unable to view it. It was reviewed by the jail lieutenant.
I see. And so the lieutenant explained to you what had happened, and then you went to speak to my client to ask him about that you weren't conducting an investigation based on what your lieutenant told you?
That's correct.
I see. Okay, no further questions. Thank you.
All right,
Nothing
Anything
further from
else?
the city, Your Honor.
all right. Anything else for this officer?
Not from the city, Your Honor.
So Deputy, I guess you're here for Collins also, right?
That's correct.
And he's here for position 4,
That would be position 6, Your Honor.
6. So I guess that one's probably going to be reset to that week of the 20th or some. Well, the Miss Bumpus isn't here. So does the 20th look like it's that week available to you?
That's fine, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
I believe Collins is the,
Right, it's Miss Clark's
yeah.
client too, but he's got 2 positions.
Well, but I'm saying, I believe Mr. Collins is one of the alleged victim, I believe, in this case.
Right.
We've gotten this or in my hand, Mr. Hampton's the alleged victim with Mr. Collins.
Right,
It's like we have victim and alleged victim and attackers as co-defendants.
right.
Just want to point that out.
What's that?
I just wanted to point out that the,
Right, and Miss Bumpus isn't at your office, right?
no,
So, yeah, so he has 2 cases on here, Mr. Collins.
right,
One that Miss Clark represents him in and one that Miss Bumpus represents him in.
okay. Well, what I'm talking, my client here was the victim of one of the stabbings.
Right,
These co-defendants with the stabber.
right.
Yeah,
Codify.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. His attacker is a co-defendant.
All right, yeah, so it's kind of like the other night where they were cross defendants. Okay, yeah. So it'll probably be sometime that week of the 20th. Does that look like it's okay?
That's fine.
Okay, as long as the state has your, information, we'll send you a notice on that.
Your Honor.
Thank you. Stay safe out there.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead with the argument.
Sorry.
All right, so we'll get probable cause and everything. Go ahead with the bond hearing on that. Wow.
This defendant has 28 cycles in Georgia, beginning in 2012. Felony convictions from 2015, robbery, they received first offender treatment with no seal date. Possession of cocaine. 2020, there was a theft by receiving stolen property conviction. FTA in 2013 and 2019. Probation violation 2014, 2018, and 2022. Nothing further to report, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Ola.
Are we doing bond?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, you just did bond not long ago.
we did on the 1st. It's the 30th.
I do not have his yellow effective, Your Honor, I apologize.
Oh, so,
From beginning of it, but.
okay. What says the state? I mean, right now we've got it at 35.5.
We would ask for a reduction. None of the information has changed from previously, though.
Okay,
Your Honor, based on the evidence and the prior history of this defendant, the bond that has already been set seems sufficient enough, and we're asking for the bonds to remain the same.
all right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with co-defendant/victim, Daylan, Daylyne, Collins, Colins. I think I already said no drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. You're gonna have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment. As long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. We'll also add basic life necessities to that. No further contact with the alleged victims, Eric Bell, Kenwood Campbell, Antonio Jacobs, Trevlion, Trevillon, Lieutenant C. Calloway, unless it's in their official capacity. So we'll do 15, 5, 500, and 5. 15, 5,000, 500, and 5,000. Best of luck to you, sir. LT, what do we got on the other guy? Uh-huh. Okay, still down at, hey, how's it going? Still down in, Carnes House?
Just saying your house right now.
Okay, that's fine, because that's the last one we got. Yeah.
Like in the same.
Well, last one we got was any lawyers present. You want to come on up?
Are you able to reach out to Judge Scott to see if I can stay to finish this?
Judge Scott.
Your Honor, this is position 5, correct?
Yeah, this is fine.
Let me make sure I'm giving you the right,
Take it easy.
Judge Scott McAfee. I'm sorry.
Sure.
That's the first name.
Yeah, Judge McAfee. Yeah.
I'll be doing a plea in his courtroom.
Okay. What time?
It starts at 11, but I'm position 4.
Sure.
Stay, I'll stay.
What's that mean? 1 second. You see.
Yeah.
Hey, you raise your right hand. Do you swear a firm testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
So.
All right. State and spell your name for the court reporter.
Deputy Brooke B. Hammond, first name Brooke, Brook. Last name Hammond, Hammond.
All right. Thank you. Stand by till we get them out here. Yep, I'll send it right now. Do you know what your client's name is in there?
Yes, it's Giselle Bentley. Bentley.
Absolutely. Have a good week. Hopefully we won't pay for the long weekend and it won't be too bad.
I'll be back to 7.
Right. All right, it's sent.
Thank you.
Oh, we can't have anything nice. Tearing it all up.
Excuse me.
So I'm not sure why we didn't have lawyers show up. They didn't know this. I don't know, but let's see. Are we just resetting them all to the 20th that week, or do you want them on the 13th? So we got the other Jermaine Carter, position 3. Which one?
We can do the 20th.
Well, that's not, is that, wait, that one's one of the co-defendants, so that needs to be on that same week, right? Wasn't it 3, 9 through 14? I think they were all, yes. I think that one needs to be on that same.
Yeah, we can do this one.
All right, so you can make that one that week of the 20th. Right now, position 4, what about that one? That's on the 13th or 15th?
Your Honor, while we're waiting, may I use the bathroom?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
We can do that one on the 13th.
Position 4
Yes,
at
at 9 a.m.
9 a.m. So position 4, last name Clark, is the 13th at 9 a.m. And we're about, okay, so this one, so he's going to get 5. So position 6. Is position 6 at one of those two? 20th, okay. All right, 7.
Your Honor. For Clark, for this case, since it's 3 of
I can't, I'm sorry, I can't.
For Clark, I would have to do the 20th, actually leave Saturday for.
Wait a minute, all right, hold on. For Carter or for Clark?
For Clark, yes.
For Clark, because he says he needs the week of the 20th.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. He says he needs the week of the 20th because he's on vacation.
Okay.
The deputy. So away from this one. So the week of 20, all right, let's see, 7, 8, C. So Jermaine Carter, that's on Dorothy Robinson. So, and that's one of the co-defendants. So that needs to be the 20th also, right? I think the rest of those are all the 20th. 9 through 14 are all that week of the 20th, because those are all in the riot at the jail. Most of, obviously Preston, yeah, and hopefully we can get Chase Spencer, because he's in DOC. But let's see, Mr. Lewis just text. I don't know how you get them on.
Now you want to put Spencer on the week of the 20th or do as well with the other ones?
Yeah, let's see. Well, Mr. Lewis just texted and asked if he's made bond on that, but sometimes he hasn't, and they just transfer him.
Okay. Hey, Your Honor, how are you today?
Good. How about yourself?
Good.
How was your weekend?
It was great. What about you?
It was great.
Can I?
Yeah, we can just all put them on this one. Yeah, come.
Have your litigation manager's card.
Yeah. Come on.
Is this your part? No, anymore. I don't have a card, anymore.
No piece of paper. Here you go. On this. Oh, you get one. So I think all the co-defendants, we're just gonna reset all those for that 20th week, either the 20th or whatever, but anyway, for that week.
Okay.
She just gotta get in touch with Miss Watts and find out if it's that Tuesday or that Thursday or Friday, or whichever day they're gonna reset them for.
Yes, sir.
I think we covered them all now.
So after Mr. Collins is done. that would
Say
be-
one more time?
After Mr. Collins, that would be the last position, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's all, for some reason, that's all the lawyers we have. I think we got everything, right?
Yes, Your Honor, I think so.
Ms. Hollenbeck?
I'm looking now to make sure we have everything. Because
And
there's
she's
a
gonna-
couple of pages.
Yeah, and she's gonna reach out to Ms. Watts and figure out what day on that week it is. Because Ms. Beck needs hers on the 20th. Or I guess everybody's kind of set for the 20th except,
So 5 and 6, we're gonna hear today or just 5?
no, just 5. 6, Ms. Bumpus isn't here. That's gonna have to be reset to the week of the 20th. So the only other one we're gonna hear is position 5. And hopefully they got notice, because if not, the 1 o'clock calendar is gonna fall apart too. Because I got Ms. Bumpus, so there's Mr. Olaf, Paul, some of the same people.
And Your Honor, just to make sure, we have 5 positions for this afternoon, correct?
7.
7?
But if Miss Bumpus didn't show up this morning, neither did Miss Paul or Mr. Bastine, they may not show up this afternoon either.
Your Honor, would it be possible for me to receive a copy of the calendar for this afternoon? The calendar that I have only shows 5 positions, not 7.
Do you have this? Oh, he's got, okay.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Can you not open it up on Odyssey?
The calendar?
Mm-hmm.
No, Your Honor, it's sent out.
No, but can you not open up the calendar on Odyssey?
I don't know how to open the calendar.
So you don't know, you probably can. Do you know how?
No, I don't.
If you go to Odyssey and you click, Superior Court and this is county to a complaint room,
Oh, no, I don't think I can go.
You don't know
let
how?
me have
I'll
that
show you
kind of
how.
access.
When we're finished, I'll show you how. See if y'all have access. I think
I
y'all
don't
may.
think I have access to that.
Yeah,
That would be wonderful.
but yeah, I'll show you. You might have.
Judge Manning,
Uh-huh.
position 7, we're resetting that one as well.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, no, 7's the one we just heard.
Well, yes.
We heard 7 with Mr. Olaf.
Oh, right. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Your Honor, go to,
So here you go, bring it up here. Go to, can we get your calendar, Superior Court? Let's see. Oh, okay, let's see.
Can I come look
Sure.
just in case?
Let's see. How do you bring up your ad code for your menu? So view calendar. View. I used to do monthly. Superior Court. It's not letting you do it. So if you do it, like you should have, because I picked case manager.
is it on that attorney manager side?
It might be, let's see.
Yeah, yours is totally different. Yeah, access, I might get that.
Yeah, sometimes it's, well, you should see this. Yeah, you get a little bit different accountability. Do you have one on here that says complex, white color? I mean, complaint room. Jesus. Let me spin my video around. I'll show you on mine. That way it won't, let me turn my video for a second. Here you go, come here, I'll show you how to do it on mine. Do you want to come here, Ms. Clark?
Yeah.
So like, here's how I do it on mine. I have all my favorites listed down anyway. So I have all my favorites, so, because on the menus, I put cases, enterprise, right? So I go to calendar. And this one, see where I've selected monthly, superior and complaint room? See, once I do that, these are all the complaint rooms, so I pull up the 1 o'clock calendar, they're right there.
Yeah, I don't have any, mine was nothing like that. I
Oh,
don't think
okay.
they give me that level of access. I'm in general.
Yeah.
We're not among the special.
Yeah, so, I mean, they should, I mean, yeah, you shouldn't necessarily be able to have to add or anything, but as long as you can view it, since they did add a couple or what have you, yeah.
That would be helpful too.
There, instead of chasing after the calendar.
Right.
But as far as the efficiency goes, I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
That's why I also haven't seen so happy right now.
You're working today, right? You're not off.
I'm working.
You're, okay, so you're like, yeah.
My boss left early.
Yes, you're out, okay.
I'm good though.
Does Mr. Collins have a bond already by chance? I didn't know the other fella had one. Mr. Manley, Preston.
Yeah. No bond on this one.
Okay.
Since September. Has he been in this long on this case with no bond?
No, he has other cases. Yes.
Because this looks like it was addressed in September and he didn't have a bond.
But I think he's been in for 28 months, so it's some other.
He was in DOC back, okay.
Yeah, he's been.
Your Honor, that I'm sure you're aware, but you look nothing like Judge McBurney.
I know, right? Much skinnier. Dang him.
So right now, the charge is just the ag assault, is that right, counseling? They're not having any hearings. My clients leave with more. Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
Yes.
Yay.
Bueller.
I know, right? Bueller. All right, here we go. All right, now we got it. All right, this position 522 CP 212282. Daylin Collins, 440 days out indictment, not necessarily on this case, one charge of aggravated assault. Go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you so much, Officer, for being here today. Let's go over the events that happened on September 8, 2022. Where were you employed at that time?
The Fulton County Sheriff's Office.
And in what capacity and position were you working?
At the time, I was the 5 South floor officer.
And where are you currently employed?
With the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, Jail Investigations Unit.
Thank you. Let's go over the events that happened on September 8, 2022. Can you walk us through what happened?
I cannot recall what happened on November 8th. This case was brought to my attention on November 11th. That's when everybody found out what happened. So Juanita Johnson contacted the watch command, Lieutenant Page, about her son, who goes by the name of Domance Flanagan Singer. He said he was assaulted.
Could you please spell that name for the record?
Can I refer to my notes?
Please.
Okay. First name Domance, Domence. Flanagan, Flanigan.
Okay. Please continue.
Okay. So Ms. Johnson explained to Lieutenant Page, who was the watch commander for Team A at the time, that her son was stabbed and that he was scared to let anybody know. And that event took place on 9/8/2022.
And how were you made aware of the events of September 8th on November 11th, you mentioned?
Yes. So on November 11th, after Lieutenant Page received a phone call from Ms. Johnson, he immediately came to my floor. And that's when he brought me in and he explained to me what was going on. And we pulled the inmate out, Mr. Flanagan, we pulled him out and we tried to get some information out of him. And that's when he began showing us some of his stab wounds. But he said that he didn't want to identify nobody while we were on the floor because he didn't want to be a snitch. So we ended up taking him down to medical, following protocol. And the inmate's been assaulted. We take them down to medical to make sure, they get seen and treated for their injuries. Once we were down to medical, that's when the inmate began to speak. And he began to show us, that's when we determined where his actual wounds were. He received 4 stab wounds in total. One was in the upper left lip area. And then 3 of them were on top of his head. So he stabbed a total of 4 times. He had then later identified 4 inmates who attacked him.
And who were those inmates that he had identified?
He identified a Ali Al-Latif, a Jermaine Carter, Daleen Collins, and Rod
camera's
Cadmar Clark.
And you mentioned stabbing. You mentioned stabbing. What object was used for the stabbing?
I believe it was a shank, which is a homemade jail weapon, used from materials found inside the jail that are sharpened and used to cause harm to other inmates.
And once the victim in this case described the events that took place, how did you verify, if at all, the description that was given?
As far as what description is what?
The stabbing and the wounds that he had received.
I was brought along to do the charges. According to Lieutenant Page, he did his own investigation on this, and this is what he came up with. My role was simply to put the charges on the inmates.
So
I think you need to speak up just a wee bit for Ms. Clark and myself. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Sorry.
That's all right.
Okay.
I have a hard time hearing as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're just, the sound's not turned up in here, but. Yeah, I mean, I just think the speakers aren't turned up real. Bernie has better hearing than I do, I think.
So my position in this whole case right here, I was brought on to do the charges. As far as the inmate describing everything, that was a conversation he had between Lieutenant Page and Mr. Flanagan.
And who did the victim in this case, Mr. Flanagan, again, mention as the person who had stabbed him?
He mentioned Ali Alatif, Daleen Collins, Jermaine Carter, and Cadmar Clark.
And do you see Mr. Collins inside this courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Could you please identify a piece of clothing and a facial feature of Mr. Collins, please?
You can stand up if you need to.
It's the young man sitting at the table here with the blue Fulton County inmate uniform, and he has tattoos on his face and facial hair.
Thank you, Your Honor. Let the record reflect that Officer Hammond has clearly identified Mr. Collins sitting at the defense table in this case.
All right, record is noted.
And where did this event take place?
Where? 5 South Zone 300.
What is the specific address of
901 Rice Street, Atlanta, Georgia?
And what county is 901 Rice Street?
Fulton County.
Thank you, Your Honor. And nothing further.
All right, Ms. Clark.
Is it Officer Hammond or Sergeant Hammond?
Deputy.
Deputy Hammond.
Yes, ma'am.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. About yourself?
Just fine. Now, the incident occurred in September. What?
Yes.
Correct. September 8th, 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
But law enforcement wasn't aware of it until November 8th, 2022.
Law enforcement wasn't made aware until November 11th, 2022, ma'am.
Okay. So I thought I heard you say on November 8th, there was a phone call.
He contacted his mother.
On November 8th?
On November 8th. His
Okay.
mother contacted the watch command on November 11th.
Okay. So a couple months after the incident had occurred, the Fulton County Jail Facility deputies became aware of it. Is that
Negative,
right?
ma'am. This all happened within the span of 3 days. I made that clear. I said no, November.
Okay.
November. I mean, I'm sorry. I keep saying November. September. My apologies. My apologies. September.
So if it occurred September 2022, the actual stabbings, alleged stabbing, is that right?
Yes, the alleged stabbing happened. Let me correct myself. The alleged stabbings happened on September 8th of 2022. We were made aware of the situation on November 11th, 2022. My apologies. That's
Okay. That's fine. I just wanted to be clear. So 2 months, 3 days after the incident occurred, the department, your
Fulton County jail officials became aware?
We became aware 3 days after the event, ma'am. We just cleared that up, didn't we?
After you okay. So
I guess she's trying to figure out where November factors in.
I don't
Yes,
know. I'm thinking about November. My apologies.
Okay, so
It's
everything you're talking about September. Okay.
September, yes, my apologies.
okay, so that's what I was thinking. That I wrote down in my notes. You said November 8th. So
Okay,
September 8th is when the incident occurred.
yes, ma'am.
You became aware September 11th. Is
Yes,
that what
ma'am.
you meant to
Yes, ma'am.
testify to?
Yes, ma'am.
So September 11, 2022, 3 days later, you became aware.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. And once you became aware, what steps? Now, you weren't the initial investigating officer.
No, ma'am.
That would have been Lieutenant Page.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And so did you review any videos?
No, ma'am. I was not the supervisor at the time. Lieutenant Page has access to those that camera footage. I do not.
Because my warrant affidavit is really fairly limited. Is there another warrant affidavit other than the one that was?
No, ma'am. There was a jail report generated for this incident.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Lieutenant Page is the one. Did he review the videos?
I cannot confirm or deny that, ma'am.
Did you review the videos?
No, ma'am. That's not my position to do so.
Okay, so this is really based on, your arrest would be based on, or your warrant affidavit based on what an inmate told you, correct?
Yes, ma'am. What he disclosed.
And that would have been inmate Flanagan?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know what inmate Flanagan was incarcerated for? Why you were holding inmate Flanagan?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
Well, Your Honor, they're basing their investigation on not reviewing the video, no firsthand knowledge, the testimony of a single inmate is what I'm hearing. And so, his credibility, it does become an issue here. I can rephrase it.
Okay, rephrase.
So this is an inmate who was incarcerated at your jail, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long had Mr. Green been in custody?
I didn't arrest him. I don't know, ma'am.
You don't know? Did you check as part of your investigation?
I was not the investigating officer. I'll let that be known already, ma'am.
Okay, so you're here to testify, but you didn't investigate, right?
No, ma'am. I said what my position was in this case.
I must have missed that. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
My
What was
position was to bring forth criminal charges on this case. I did not do the investigation.
Okay, so you wouldn't be able to testify as to what actually occurred since you didn't do the investigation. Isn't that true?
I'm bringing forth the charges. I'm just here.
Objection, Your Honor. Counsel is misstating officer's testimony in this case.
Rephrase. I mean, did you swear out the warrant? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So you swore out a warrant, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Based on testimony evidence that was given to another officer, which would have been Lieutenant Page, I guess.
Yes, ma'am.
And to best of your knowledge, Lieutenant Page didn't look at the video.
I did not say that, ma'am.
You can't confirm that he looked at the video.
I can't deny it either.
You can't confirm or deny.
Yes, so we're even right now. So we can't say he did or he did not. However, what we do know, that inmate was assaulted. I did see those. The inmate was assaulted.
What
And
part?
he was assaulted in 5 South Zone 300.
Zone 300?
Yes, ma'am. And I was the floor officer when they came up to the floor to get this inmate.
And so how many inmates are in Zone 300?
Your Honor,
At this time, I really don't
speculative.
know. I mean, it's so many. I mean, we got a lot of inmates. They just
Well,
got
well-
inmates on it's over.
He doesn't know.
I don't know.
Okay, so you don't know, right?
No, ma'am.
So you said that Flanagan showed the stab wound
Yes, ma'am.
to you
Yes, ma'am. And Lieutenant Page.
and Lieutenant Page.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so how many stab wounds did he have?
He received 4 stab wounds, ma'am.
Okay.
1 inside the upper left lip and then three stab wounds to his head.
All right. And was he housed in
5 South Zone 300? Yes, ma'am.
5 South 300
Yes, ma'am.
along with other inmates, correct?
Yes, ma'am. As a matter of fact, his roommate, Mr. Tremmel, was also threatened, which so happened to be his brother-in-law, was
Mhm.
also threatened during that case. He wasn't assaulted, but he was threatened.
Okay, that's not one of the charges you brought though, right? That's
No,
not.
ma'am. No,
okay.
I was just letting you know.
Okay, so is is there a lot of threatening happening in that jail?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
I mean, he works, Judge, it just seems to me if he can't answer, he can say, I don't know. He works there. He's a lieutenant. Seems like he should know the history of his jail.
I mean, are you asking specifically, is there a lot of threats or towards this person?
Let me ask specifically towards that person. Had there been any other threats that you're aware
Not
of?
that I know of, ma'am.
Were you aware of whether or not there had been threats against Mr. Flanagan?
No, ma'am, no, I did not know.
Were you aware of whether or not there had been threats against my client, Mr. Collins?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You're just aware of what Mr. Green said?
Who was
Mr.
Green?
Flanagan, I apologize. Mr. Flanagan said,
Yes, what he disclosed and what his mother disclosed also to the watch command.
and his mother wasn't there, so she wouldn't have firsthand knowledge, right?
No, ma'am, she just has the knowledge that her son gave her.
Okay. This is just based on Mr. Green's testimony and your observation of his body. Is that right?
Mr. Flanagan, yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Flanagan's testimony. Mr. Green must have been the other guy.
That's-
Sorry
that's
about that.
okay.
Thank you. I
You're welcome,
appreciate
ma'am.
you.
Mhm.
All right.
Anything else?
Nothing else from the state, Your Honor.
All right, anything else for this officer?
Not for me, Your Honor.
All right, thank you there. We'll see you in sometime week of the 20th. We'll send you the notice of the exact date. All right, thank you. Go ahead with the argument. Go ahead, Ms. Clark.
Okay, Your Honor, I'd ask that the court not find probable cause in this case. The burden is on the state, again, to do thorough investigations. The burden's on the state to do a thorough investigation. I'd ask that you be quiet, please. And they've charged him with a serious felony offense, ag assault. He's in a pod with a whole bunch of, well, we don't know how many, nobody knows, but it seems to be more than 1 or 2 people. It seems to be several in 300. There's no video. It's really just based on what Mr. Green said happened 3 days later after talking to his mother. One individual. There's nothing else there other than he has marks on his body. He has a mark on his lip. There's been no evidence. Obviously, there's a lot going on in that jail, a lot. I don't think that they set out probable cause. They set out, we signed up a warrant based on what an inmate said, period.
All right, go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, the victim in this case, Mr. Flanagan, was taken to an infirmary where he clearly identified the 4 attackers. Among one of those attackers was Mr. Collins with several stab wounds. A shank was identified, and therefore we're not here to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt. This is a probable cause hearing, which means more likely than not. Is it more likely than not that this event took place? In this case, the officer's testimony clearly rises to the level of probable cause. We're asking the court to find probable cause on this charge. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, so I'll find probable cause on this. Looks like we'll go ahead and address bond on Mr. Daylen Collins. Wow.
This defendant has 18 Georgia cycles beginning in 2011, a felony conviction in 2011 for robbery, probation violation in 2018, FTAs in 2018, 2020, and 2021. Nothing further to report, Your Honor.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Clark.
Mr. Collins is 29 years old, Your Honor. He's been in custody 28 months, certainly not just on this case.
Right.
He resides with his mother, Mrs. Harris, and I spoke with her directly. If he is released, she said he could reside with her at 1355 Gideon's Drive in Atlanta. He's lived all of his life in Atlanta, Georgia.
He has 4 children, a set of twins who are 2 years old, a 13-year-old and a 3-year-old. He did complete the 10th grade, but he also obtained his GED in 2017. So he did get at least his GED. He was employed as a forklifter at Clorox. He worked there for 3 years prior to being incarcerated. And again, he's been incarcerated for past 28 months. We'd ask that a bond be set at a reasonable level. He is indigent. He's been in jail a very long time, so he doesn't have sufficient income to bond himself out on a high bond.
All right, what says the state?
Yes, Your Honor. According to Judge Brasher's order, if the defendant is charged with a serious violent felony as defined in OCGA 1710-6.1 and has already been convicted of a serious violent felony, there shall exist a rebuttable presumption that no condition or combination of conditions will reasonably assure the safety of any person or the community. In this case, we just heard from pretrial that the defendant has been convicted of a robbery previously, and here we are for a very violent offense again. Therefore, we're asking for a bond of not less than $30,000 in this case. Nothing further.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with your co-defendants, Ali, Alatif, Alatif, Jermaine Carter, and Cadmar, Cadhmar Clark, Clarke. No, you can have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, and employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working, and no further contact with the alleged victim. Dominance, Domence, Flanagan, Flanigan. That ankle monitor will be paid for by the county. And if it's work, sir, you got to supply name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, the exact location you're actually going to be working. $20,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
That's it. When they indict you.
11:26. Anything else?
Not for me, Your Honor.
Yes.
I can be excused.
All right, Ms. Hollenbeck, what else you got?
Position 7, I need the amounts for assault. for
Position
his,
7
charges.
is 15, 5, 5, and 25.
Thank you.
Okay, hold on a minute. I'm sorry, wait a minute. Let me help. I'm trying to read my own writing. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I be excused?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank
May I be
you.
excused as well?
Yes, ma'am. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Judge.
All right, is that it, Ms. Hollenbeck?
Yes, that's it.
I'm not sure how that 1 o'clock calendar is going to go since Ms. Bumpus wasn't here. Ms. Paul, Mr. Bastine. Looks like it may just be Mr. Olaf. I mean, I don't know if anybody else will be here.
Okay.
All right.
You said for the 1 o'clock calendar, Judge?
Yeah, I mean, because Ms. Bumpus wasn't here. There's some people who weren't here this morning, so I don't know if they'll be here this afternoon.
Okay, Ms. Reynolds, do you have note of everybody that didn't show up this morning? Yes, I do. Okay, you can, in between now and court, if you can try to reach out to whoever is missing.
The lawyers.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, we, Judge, you know this, we offered Zoom if they can't make it in, so.
Yeah, and and I spoke with Carell Lewis. He said he didn't know, but his is in Department of Corrections anyway.
Okay, yeah, that's the one Ms. Reynolds told me about that one, so as long as we know what facility